Come on, come in. Welcome.
What's going on, everyone? Hello. Sorry, I'm distracted right now. I gotta text someone. Okay. First thought that I want to talk about. We're just jumping right into it. I'm not gonna read yet. As always, we are gonna kind of just chill for the first half hour, and then I'll start reading the Pyre of Denethor. And it's not that long of a chapter. It's one of the shortest, which I'm a little bummed about. But, we'll come up with some stuff to talk about. I don't like Denethor. I've said that for a long time. When I initially met him, I didn't like him. And I'm going to give you the reason why I don't like him. And a lot of people are going to cry foul and say that I should like him. I pretty much do just read every waking second of my life. But okay. I know Tolkien Rants won't cry. Tolkien Rants will be rejoicing in the streets. Here's one of the reasons. I think literarily, J.R.R. Tolkien is telling us that we shouldn't like this character on a first read. Maybe not on like deeper reads that you do. But when I am reading this for the first time, intuitively, I am thinking about all the people that are getting compared with Denethor. And there are so many characters in this who are doing the opposite of Denethor, and we're supposed to commend them for it. And I think the natural impulse is that we're not supposed to like him. That's the wrong word. I don't know. I think we're supposed to empathize with him. But he is a warning in how to not experience grief. Potentially. I don't know. Oh, Revenant, thanks for those 5 gifts. And also, Michael, thanks for the $5 too. Denethor's death. I feel like he might not even die, to be honest. Yeah, we do like villains. I will give you that. But at the same point, he's not really I don't know. Is there a character that everyone kind of just universally hates? Denethor is not that character. But if there were one in Lord of the Rings, it might be him. I don't know. He's just a bizarre character. And this is why I'm really thinking about this. Because I just did the essay that's going to come out tomorrow or Tuesday. I don't think I have an essay for Tuesday yet. Oh, tomorrow. It's called What Tolkien Teaches Us About Facing Death. And it's the essay about Éomer and how he deals with it. And I keep thinking in that essay that they are such comparisons for each other. Éomer and Denethor. The person who is essentially now the king of Rohan and the steward of Gondor. And they both, Éomer has been through more than legitimately. I will say, I think out of everyone in this book, Éomer has been through the most. The worst. What? Éomer right now thinks his sister is dead. Let's keep that in mind. Is there a single character who has gone through more than Éomer in this book? Frodo, because he has the ring. Faramir is kind of up there. Faramir is kind of in this a little bit of the same boat. But at the same point, imagine Faramir. Maybe Faramir would be happy about this. But Denethor then dies. So Gollum, that's actually a great point. Théoden, I think has at the same point, but Théoden dies knowing that Éomer and Éowyn that he thinks are still alive. At least he goes with that peace. Éomer is about to go and die, and he's not dying in peace. He's dying with rage and fury in his heart. And I know so I've heard Faramir has lost his mom at a young age. Gollum has been through a lot, but at the same point, I don't really sympathize or empathize with him. Like, he was kind of shunted by his family because he's a weird, and he's like an oddball, and he's like been tortured for sure. But he's not like a kind character, so you don't have that much sympathy for him. But Éomer, who is great from the get-go, I love Éomer from the get-go. All of a sudden, he goes through hell, and these people think that he's dead. Or not that he's dead, but he thinks so. And then again, I heard the story where I did a little research of the essay for tomorrow. His dad dies at the hands of orcs. His mom dies of grief, which I don't want to like psychoanalyze because I'm not great at psychoanalysis, or I don't like doing psychoanalysis because I think we should leave that to professionals. But she may have had something psychologically wrong with her. Like, she reminds me of like I don't know, that's like almost like a Padme kind of character. Like, you lose the will to live, but you still have kids. And this is even different. Like, her kids are, I don't know how old Éomer and Éowyn were when she died, but it's tragic to me that she would die of grief. Maybe she died of something else. And I'll probably learn more about that in the appendices. But I don't know. Shattermelon, when I say I don't like Denethor, you mean I don't want to be his friend. When I say I like Denethor, I love reading about this guy. Okay, I'll give you that. He's like, again, he is just such an interesting character to read and talk about. So I will say I think he's interesting. Also, Sarah, see you later. Glad you could jump in for a little bit. People dying of grief is a Tolkien thing. Honestly, postpartum depression might be it. That's actually a great point. Never thought about that. But maybe I could write an essay about that when I hit in the appendices. So I think she has like something, there's some kind of imbalance in her that she would do, that she would die from grief like that. Her kids still needed her. But I mean, you can't like necessarily blame her. I'm curious what her like, how did she go? And then Éomer is raised by his uncle, and he has a sister. And then he has his cousin who is primed for the throne, and his cousin is Theodred. Like, okay, Éomer doesn't have to worry about getting the throne. He just has to worry about like growing up, becoming a warrior. Like, he's very one-track minded. Theodred dies. When does Theodred die in this book? Like, are we talking a year prior, 2 years prior? Am I going to get the Theodred death in appendices? Because I would really like that, to be honest. And I'm really curious about that. Also, thank you for the donations, guys. Kaustuv Varshny. That's a cool name. 100 something. I don't know what that money symbol is, but it's a cool looking thing. Thanks for the 100 something. At the Battle of the Ford before, so he dies like a few months, 2 days before. No way. Hold on. Did I miss that? I must have missed that. I thought it happened like a year before. It was legitimately like 2 days before. So like the movie is actually painting an accurate depiction of that. That's so tragic. So all of a sudden, Éomer has this role thrust on him that he's supposed to be the king. INFP or an INFJ. I'm an INFP, so I'd say he's an INFP because I want to be like Faramir. But that's actually crazy. Am I going to learn of Theodred's death in the appendices, or was it just a briefly mentioned thing? Theodred's death is covered in the unfinished tales. Okay, interesting. Huh. Tom, yeah. We're going to chat for another like 15, 20 minutes before we start. Dang. Okay. There's a timeline with years and dates in Appendix B. Appendix B. Okay. Yeah, I gotta get the Unfinished Tales too. I have the Silmarillion. I don't have any other books. I have the Hobbit and the Silmarillion, so I'm gonna do those. I mean, those will take me a while, but we'll slowly work through the Silmarillion. But then, okay, so you have Éomer, who 2 days before the Battle of Helm's Deep learns that Theodred is dead, and all of a sudden he goes, I'm next in line for the king." He goes into the Battle of Helm's Deep, and Théoden is just sitting there. He's behind the wall, so he's not necessarily going to die. But Éomer is living with that responsibility now. And then all of a sudden he goes to war right here, and then Théoden dies, and he has the king role thrust upon him, and he's a great king. I think he's a phenomenal king. But then he looks. One of my favorite parts of the last chapter, when I was rereading it, was he has this moment when he sees. When he sees Théoden essentially on the ground, and Théoden says, like, "You are now the king of the Mark." Théoden dies, and everyone is like sitting in silence watching Éomer mourn. And he gives the orders, but he's doing this weeping. And I love that moment. But let's compare and contrast this with Denethor. Denethor has something terrible happen to him, which his son dies. And then his son comes back maimed and pretty much on the verge of death. And now he's losing his mind because Faramir's still alive and needs medicine rather than a burning. Which I think that's what we're going to get in this chapter. The Pyre of Denethor. I'm guessing that's the funeral pyre. But he totally collapses in himself. Éomer stands up and fights. When Théoden dies, this father figure in his life, he's like, the time for mourning is not yet. We need to press on and we need to fight still, which I think is great. And I love that. It pumps me up. But there's a difference with Éomer when he sees Éowyn lying next to him, because he like goes, his eyes go across all the Kingsguard and he sees Éowyn lying there and he goes mad. And then it's a fury and he just goes charging into battle without like reforming lines, without counsel or anything like that. That's not a great move to do that. And he lost it there, which I excuse, but he quickly gains it back after a few minutes when he reorganizes and goes on top of that hill, and he's going to have his last charge and last stand. And I feel like that's honestly where he becomes like a really, really like a good king. He's still leading his men in the midst of grief. Denethor is nowhere to be seen. He's just caving in on himself in his grief. And that's kind of why I don't like him. Rupees? Dude, thank you for the 100 rupees. I really appreciate it. I don't care for that much. Just saying, just little donations are huge. Thank you. Appreciate it. I know I'm still analyzing with incomplete information. But I'm just saying, at this point in the book, from a first-time reader's perspective, I think I'm supposed to hate Denethor. I think you guys are all blessed with the foresight of knowing what his story is because you've read this story before. And I think you guys can empathize with him more because you know the whole entire story. But Shattermelon, I'm saying if I contrast him with Théoden, that's exactly why I hate him more. Because they are so different of characters. Now, again, I think Denethor is one of the most interesting characters in this entire book. And I'm really curious about this chapter to see like what he's actually dealing with and encountering. But he seems to just be losing his mind. And everyone has been saying, "Oh, the movies are tainting your perception of this." And I just don't know if I don't think that's the case. I think this is how Tolkien wants me to feel. Because I have been doing analysis on this for months. And I agree with you, Nemo. Like, you can hate a person and love the character. I have a lot of characters that I really love as characters, but I hate the person for sure. But I don't think Tolkien wants me to really like this guy. That's just what I'm saying. Like, I don't think my perception is just clouded by the movies. So I don't know. I know he was being crushed by this burden for a while. And I will say that I'll give him the benefit of the doubt there, because this is something that I loved for Denethor early on. When Denethor was essentially at the Council of Elrond, he was like, none of you understand what we're going through. We're on the front lines. We are fighting these battles. I love that. And Denethor has literally been on the front lines for his whole life. And he feels like he has no support and no help. So, of course, he's been driving himself mad in these chapters. And like, again, it's no excuse for how he acts. But he still kind of goes crazy in these chapters. And he needs to be leading his men, because that's what a real man would do. But I did love Boromir when he was saying that. And everyone is like, oh, yeah, he was wrong, though, because Aragorn is still fighting his battles. Aragorn's protecting the Shire. Now, I don't know to the extent what the forces are that are trying to take on the Shire and trying to like hinder the Shire. I'm sure he's dealing with wights and maybe some trolls or something like that. And okay, depression versus madness. Sometimes someone asked this question in one of the videos that I did, and they said that there's a very like thin line between the two. Hot take: Sauron is actually a nice guy. Could you imagine? He's really just trying. I'm sure people have done this series through the perspective of Sauron. I'm not the biggest fan of doing those kind of things. Craig, I'm pretty pumped for this chapter too, because I have so many thoughts on Denethor. And Denethor, and that's the thing. Qyburn. I'm gonna say it with a. It might be Cybrin, but I'm gonna say it with a elfish hard C. Qyburn. Denethor thinks he's a good leader, but is making all the wrong decisions, which undermines his own city's chance of success. Yes, 100%. And that's the thing that actually drives me even crazier, is that Denethor actually thinks he's a good leader, which, to be honest, he kind of is, but not in this moment. I think in the history of Gondor right now, probably like his whole life, I think he's actually been a good and effective leader, and he's been keeping them alive, which is huge. But now he thinks he's like too good. He thinks he's too wise, and he's not taking any counsel from someone like Gandalf, who knows what he's talking about. And he's just like, pride is his downfall. I think, like, again, I don't know his whole entire backstory. I don't really know what he's been doing. So I'm just saying that I think in the last few pages, the last few chapters, I think Tolkien is specifically trying to get me to not like this guy. And maybe this is going to be really controversial, but I can for sure see why Peter Jackson and co. decided to go the madness route. Because while I do think that he's so sad and so depressed, at the same time, there's things that he's saying and that he's doing that are madness. When would you ever say to your son, that will depend on the manner of your return for thinking, I'm going to think better of you or not? That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy to me. So when he's I'm sure he's literally about to burn Faramir here. I'm just curious what is going to happen. I want to know. I want to know. It's a great movie, by the way, Tarzan. Ooh, okay, here's a question for the before we actually start the reading. This is a really short chapter too, which I'm actually kind of bummed about. There's like 5 pages. Well, 35. It's like 9 pages. So, what's the best Disney movie, everyone? I think I've asked this before, but that's the question before this. What do you think about Denethor? And what's your favorite Disney movie? The movies made Denethor an idiot and a clown. That's kind of true. I will say that. That's a huge change. He's a lot wiser in the books. But I still think he actually has his madness in the books. I think it's just veiled a little bit more. And so when the movies make him an idiot and they make him like a clown, his madness just comes out more. So actually, that's a great point. I fully agree with you there, Shadowman. Prudence versus hope. Both virtues that shall be mentioned by Tolkien, neither one of them theological virtues. Faramir is going to burn up and his ashes will be scattered to make the white tree grow. Can you imagine? That's dark. He does have competence. I will say that, Ower, too. He does have competence. He's like actually good. He's doing things that are right, but at the same point, he's not doing things that are right. And I think the one thing that I'm driven mad about is that he says that he's doing everything right, but then he's like, oh, a good leader leads from behind, and literally every person that we've seen after that is leading from the front. So how, like, that to me is Tolkien saying Denethor is losing it. He's not being a good leader because he's not even not leading from behind. He's about to burn himself alive. So, riddle me that. Okay, Tangled is great. Tangled is honestly Tangled to me is like the resurgence of the Disney movies. Tangled came out as one of my favorites. I watched it all the time when I was in college with a bunch of guys. Pinocchio, the old Pinocchio is terrifying to me. Hercules is great. I don't know about hands down. Hercules is a good one. Honestly, some of the greatest music. Honestly, I think Hercules probably has the greatest soundtrack other than Tarzan. What is the greatest soundtrack of any Disney movie? That's an interesting question. There's some really great songs. What's the greatest song ever sung? I mean, Lion King is classic. You can't dispute Lion King. Emperor's New Groove is great. You can remove Denethor from the movies, and it makes the movies better. Yeah, honestly, I'm with you. I'm kind of with you. Okay, good. If this is the chapter that I'm going to get who Denethor is, I'm pumped about that then. Beauty and the Beast is so good. Creeped me out when I was a kid because of that little creepy carriage thing. You know what I mean? I think it was terrifying. Hunchback of Notre Dame legitimately has the greatest movie villain maybe of all time. It's between Claude Frollo and between Anton Chigurh. Those two are the scariest two people in all of movie lore to me. Rogue One, greatest Disney movie. Honestly, I love that you're saying that that's a Disney movie. It's so good. Such a great one. This, Beauty and the Beast second. Brother Bear. Wow. Honestly, it's a cute one. Brother Bear is kind of cute. I kind of dig that one. Prince of Egypt, legitimately one of the most underrated movies of all time. Everyone go look up the cast of Prince of Egypt right now, and then come back and chat, because the cast, that might be the greatest cast movie of all time. It is the most all-star cast you will ever see. Lilo and Stitch is kind of a good one. Yeah, Aladdin has some great music too. Yeah, Tangled was before Frozen. Yeah, that's true. They kind of stayed good. I think they had a good run. It was Tangled and Frozen. And then it was like half of that in The Princess and the Frog before that. I haven't seen actually Princess and the Frog, but some people say, and they swear by it. They say it's great. I got to watch that. Hercules. Yeah. I'm curious what, I know. I got to watch Star Kids' version of Aladdin. I think I would love that. I got to stream those. Get back to streaming some of those. I love that we're talking about Disney and then there's Denethor comments thrown in here. It's confusing. Logan, interesting. Brother Bear is underrated. Honestly, there's a lot of good underrated Disney movies, and just like, yeah, there's some great underrated movies. Jungle Book is underrated. Blues and Patches. Have you heard the theory? I think the Super Carlin brothers did this. The theory that everything in Disney is related. That one of my favorites is that Tarzan is another superly underrated movie. Tarzan is Anna and Elsa's brother. And that the ship that Anna and Elsa's parents got stranded on that island. That was their ship. They were heading to the wedding of... Oh, no. I'm thinking of Tangled. Hold on. Wait. No. Anna and Elsa's parents were going to the Tangled wedding, apparently. Because they're in that movie. Right? I'm losing it. But I think that. Honestly, I think Prince of Egypt is probably one of the greatest animated movies of all time. Treasure Planet, I like... people talk about Treasure Planet being underrated. I think Atlantis is one of the most underrated. I really, really love Anna. Oh, no, yeah, thank you, Michael. It's all Pixar. The Pixar theory. Not all Disney. But I think some people have made it where all Disney is kind of related in some way. Start reading or bring wood and oil. Bring wood and oil. That's Victor. Tomatoes. Come on, work of the year. I saw Fantasia when I was in like high school. Haven't seen it for a long time. Yeah, if you're getting a rip, rest in peace on the stream, it's probably it's you, not me. That we're breaking up. All right, we're gonna start reading in 5 minutes. Short chapter a day too, so. Yeah, honestly, what was the one movie that you guys watched over and over and over again when you were a kid? Because Tangled, I feel like I could get a little sick of Tangled. I mean, you can get sick of any movie. I used to watch Space Jam all the time. Space Jam used to be my movie. I think I watched it once a day when I was in the summer. And then Homeward Bound. Homeward Bound is one of the greatest movies of all time. Thank you very much. Oh, Peter. That's the greatest scene in any movie ever. The Land Before Time as a kid, all the time. Bring wood and oil is what Tolkien would say about Disney. Did Tolkien like any Disney stuff? He wasn't alive during any of those movies, right? Was he? Home Alone. I did Lion King all the time. Lord of the Rings. Hercules is the worst Disney movie. That's actually crazy. That's only because you like Greek mythology, Nemo. Come on. If you didn't know anything, you'd think it was great. Oh, Wreck-It Ralph is such a good one. Wreck-It Ralph. I would watch the Wreck-It Ralph all the time. I did watch The Incredibles all the time too. Honestly, so good. He hated Disney with a passion. Wow, Tolkien didn't like anything. Someone, who was it? Michael, I think it was you. You shared this one guy on YouTube. I can't think words. This one guy on YouTube, I forgot his name, Johnny Blue, something like that, made a video about how Tolkien actually would have liked the movies. And it was a really compelling case. It was a great video. So I kind of think that Tolkien actually would like the movies. It was a really good case for why Tolkien would actually like the Lord of the Rings movies. Not the Disney movies. I don't know if he would like Disney or not. He definitely didn't like Dune. I don't think he'd like the Dune movies. He likes more hopeful things. Tolkien would love Homeward Bound, let's be honest. Or no, Tolkien would love a movie about horses. What was that movie? War Horse? War Horse. He would like, was that the movie? Guys, honestly, I know a lot of you are probably saying that he wouldn't, but go watch that video. I was actually kind of sold after I watched that. Hidalgo. Oh, such a good movie. That was right after he made Lord of the Rings too. He was in his hot guy era. I think still Vigo is still pretty hot, but Hidalgo was a great movie. You watched it and still think he wouldn't like it? Well, that's okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, Christopher probably has a pretty strong opinion. But at the same time, I think there's slight differences. Tom Hiddleston was in Warhorse? I didn't even know that. Or Tom Huddleston. Did I read the quote about where you ranted about Kennings? No. Repost it. Everyone knows I'm a slow reader, so I can't read half of these things. I think Tolkien would have driven himself mad with all the small little changes that they made to the movies. He probably would have been like, guys, CGI is at a point where it's so good right now, and you changed small little things in my book that were so much better in the book. That's where I get frustrated with movies. As a whole, I think the movies are great. Still love them so much, but the small details of it just get lost now. Like on Friday, I was over at my brother's house and we were watching, because he got like this new like little sound bar for his TV. So we were watching like big battle scenes, and he wanted to watch The Hobbit, and I was like, oh, watch the Ride of the Rohirrim. And we watched it, and it was like a 5-minute clip. And I explained for 10 minutes all the differences between that, because we just came from that in my read. So I am I'm all over the place. Oh, in the Discord. I haven't read. I'm off Discord right now. Hold on. Oh, it's a long post. I'll read that in a bit. Hran. Yeah, I'll read that after stream. Do a live read of the Discord. The Discord of who's Melkor? Should we rename our Discord the Discord of Melkor? There's definitely a Discord already out there that is called the Discord of Melkor. I know. We're gonna start the read. One more minute. It's 2:04. Melkor is Morgoth. Why does he have two names? Is Melkor the first name of Morgoth? Just some dude. What was Sauron's name before Sauron? That's not that much spoiler stuff. Who doesn't have multiple names? Anatar. Thank you. Or Mehran? Mehran. Did he just have a lot of names? Is Sauron's name a lot of... Does Sauron have a lot of names? I mean, Gandalf has a lot of names. That's true. And he has a lot of names depending on where he's from. Gandalf, yeah, exactly. Gandalf, Olorin, or Olorin, Mithrandir. These aren't that much of spoilers. These are just names. Come on. If a spoiler if a name is a big spoiler in this, then you guys all know to not say it. What would Sauron's online troll moniker be? What would he, if he had a YouTube channel, what would he call it? All right, we're gonna start reading, by the way. Just give me answers to that one last question, and then we'll go. Spoiler: Morgoth was a bad guy. Get your marshmallows ready. Sauron rants. Oh, Tolkien rants. You should do a Sauron rants channel. That'd be great. Oh, also, everyone, guys, everything that I was just talking about, Denethor, Tolkien rants. Everyone, go click on the channel and go subscribe because she just made a video about Denethor and all her thoughts on it, and it was fantastic, and it was a joy. And pumps out some great Tolkien content with some incredible animation too. Incredible artist. So, Lord of Gifts, Theobald. All these things are going over my head. Over my head. Who? Tolkien rants, right there. The person that just made the comment. There's a person that dresses on TikTok as Sauron and cooks food. That is actually great. People are so creative. People are so creative. Man, I love that. Ooh, his name would be Sauron the Deceiver. Would he call himself the Deceiver though? Oh, last thing before we start to read, because this was really funny to me. I promise we'll start a read in 2 or 3 minutes. I know some of you guys, Sauron of the Shire. I know some of you guys are obviously big Lord of the Rings fans. I know some of you guys like a little book called Lord of the Rings. I know some of you also are following the channel about the girl who's reading it for the first time. She read the Silmarillion before I did. I think her YouTube is Lonely Reader. And she's pumping out some great stuff right now. Let me find this. Yeah, Lonely Reader. She's an Aussie or a Kiwi. I think she's an Aussie. I really can't tell the difference. I'm sorry if you're an Aussie or a Kiwi. And she has this thing where she's doing a walking challenge for when she's reading it. And she has this, like, the app where you can buy, like, it's like $100 and you have to like walk the same distance that Frodo's walking. So she's going to do that for her read. But this made me crack up so much. The password to get into her group is teleporno. And I saw that and I just cracked up for a good like minute. I was like, that is hilarious. I love that so much. I know, it's crazy. I don't think it's $100 for the app. I think it's $100 to like get membership to be able to do that, which I'm like, that's crazy. I'll just track it on my own. You hope Sauron wins? What? I need to keep reading in order to figure out if that's true or not. Interesting that she's a bit cynical. I haven't watched any of her Silmarillion stuff, obviously, because I haven't read that yet, and I don't want any spoilers. That's interesting that she's cynical about that. When I read the Silmarillion, I'll follow her delayed journey, or we'll do that. All right, everyone, we're going to start the read. Sorry for the long chit chat. I think I saw a comment on Discord somewhere, the Discord of Melkor, that was like, I hope John chats for a while because they couldn't make it until like the first 45 minutes. So we're right on schedule. 45 minutes or 40 minutes in, and we're starting to read. It's a short chapter, so I mean, I could just kind of just chill and be chatty about things until we start. Okay. Here we go. Everyone, bring out your pyres, bring out your matches, your marshmallows. I need a candle. Should I get a candle and put it somewhere? Just as like a little vigil? Nah. I don't really like candles all that much. Maybe that's a hot take. Okay, here we go. The Pyre of Denethor, chapter 7. Chapter 7. Chapter 7. The Pyre of Denethor. When the dark shadow at the gate withdrew, Gandalf still sat motionless. When the dark shadow at the gate withdrew. Oh, so we're back there. Oh, dang. Okay. That's crazy that this dark shadow withdrew. That's crazy. He was in the city. He was in the city. That's nuts. It's crazy. But Pippin rose to his feet, as if a great weight had been lifted from him, and he stood listening to the horns. And it seemed to him that they would break his heart with joy. Oh, I love that. And never in after years could he hear a horn blow in the distance without tears starting in his eyes. But now suddenly his errand returned to his memory, and he ran forward. That's such a good point. I'm already going to write my first essay about Pippin crying every time he hears horns. Oh, that'll be a short one. I love that because it's like he thinks he's going to die here. And so every time he hears a horn now, he feels that despair, and then he feels the hope rekindling in him. And never in after years could he hear a horn blow in the distance without tears starting in his eyes. I love that. Yeah, Pippin POV chapters are some of my favorite. I love that we're just going between the hobbits here. But now suddenly his errand returned to his memory, and he ran forward. At that moment, Gandalf stirred and spoke to Shadowfax, and was about to ride through the gate. "Gandalf, Gandalf," cried Pippin, and Shadowfax halted. "What are you doing here?" said Gandalf. "Is it not a law in the city that those who wear the black and silver must stay in the citadel, unless their lord gives them leave?" "He has," said Pippin. "He has sent me away, but I am frightened something terrible may happen up there. The Lord is out of his mind, I think." I side with Pippin. The Lord is out of his mind, I think. I am afraid he will kill himself and kill Faramir too. Can't you do something? I can make an hour-long video just me chatting about hearing horns. Come up with a few stories in there. Shadowrun, I know. I keep being antagonistic about that. Everyone kind of does think he is mad, but Gandalf looked through the gaping gate, and already on the fields he heard the gathering sound of battle. He clenched his hand. I must go, he said. The Black Rider is abroad, and he will yet bring ruin on us. I have no time. Oh, crazy. So he's going to have to make a decision here. Does he make the right decision? Yes, I think so. But Faramir, cried Pippin. He is not dead, and they will burn him alive if something does not stop them. Burn him alive, said Gandalf. What is this tale? Be quick. Denethor has gone to the tomb, said Pippin, and he has taken Faramir, and he says we are all to burn, and he will not wait, and they are to make a pyre and burn him on it, and Faramir as well. And he has sent men to fetch wood and oil. Bring wood and oil. And I have told Beregond, but I am afraid he won't dare to leave his post. He is on guard. And what can he do anyway? I actually think Beregond would do something, and he would leave his post. Because he's a wise man. He's a man of principle, but also he's a man who knows what's right. Like, he is a good soldier. Pippin's right about that. But at the same point, I think Beregond would leave his guard in an hour like this. Where is Beregond right now? Pippin, when he left immediately, he saw him. Is he in one of the upper levels? He's not by the Citadel because he's not a Citadel guard. Wait, Legolas shoots down the Nazgul. What about that? Oh, yeah, someone said that, yeah. Just keep reading. I know. I know, guys. Read and find out. I know. But I like getting these little side conversations. I am the most distracted reader. So Pippin poured out his tale, reaching up and touching Gandalf's knee with trembling hands. Can't you save Faramir? Huh? Reaching up and touching Gandalf's knee with trembling hands. That's so cute. Maybe I can, said Gandalf. But if I do, then others will die, I fear. Well, I must come, since no other help can reach him. But evil and sorrow will come of this. Even in the heart of our stronghold, the enemy has power to strike us. For his will it is that is at work. For his will it is that is at work. Gandalf's decision. The decision that killed a lot of people. Honestly, I would actually be very curious to see what Gandalf would actually be able to do in a battle. Like, I know he's strong, but what would he actually be able to do? Magic-wise, wizard-wise. So I know he would have held off the Witch King. That change in the movies is ridiculous, where he breaks the staff. Come on, the Witch King's not more powerful than Gandalf, right? I mean, the Witch King's powerful, but he rules by fear. Gandalf rules by love. I think that battle would have been maybe not necessarily a quick battle, but I think would have been Gandalf would have probably beaten him. But then we have a bunch of orcs there. Gandalf can't take on thousands of orcs. He can't just send out like this big, spell that kills all of them. He would have done that already. Anyway, let's keep reading. Yeah, that's an interesting point, Blues and Patches, too, because I keep hearing that he's really not supposed to interfere, so like he doesn't really actually get into the affairs of this. You wouldn't want to be in a standoff with Gandalf. Also, everyone liked the stream. I forgot to mention that. How dare I forget to mention that you like this stream. Everyone, throw some quick likes on the stream so this gets out to more people. More Lord of the Rings people can do this. Gandalf, he did kill the Balrog, and I don't think the Witch King has much on a Balrog. I would probably say the Balrog probably kill the... I have read more. I read a few paragraphs. Come on. It's a short chapter anyway. This isn't going to be that long of a live read. I'm literally like a quarter of the way through it already. Well, not really, but almost. All right. Let's keep reading. We'll talk about the Balrogs later. Then, having made up his mind, he acted swiftly. And catching up Pippin and setting him before him, he turned Shadowfax with a word. Up the climbing streets of Minas Tirith they clattered, while the noise of war rose behind them. Everywhere men were rising from despair and dread, seizing their weapons, crying to one another, "Rohan has come!" Captains were shouting. Companies were mustering. Many already were marching down to the gate. They met the Prince Imrahil, and he called to them, "Whither now, Mithrandir? The Rohirrim are fighting on the fields of Gondor. We must gather all strength that we can find." "You will need every man and more," said Gandalf. "Make all haste. I will come when I can, but I have an errand to the Lord Denethor that will not wait. Take command in the Lord's absence." I like that. I like that a lot. Imrahil is great. How old is Imrahil? I couldn't catch that in the books. And he's Prince? Does he have a dad? Maybe he's just Prince because he's not like the King of Gondor, so they wouldn't call him the King of Dol Amroth. He's about 60. He's 13. I doubt that. 66. He's Denethor's brother-in-law. Interesting. Prince is just like a title. Okay. Lord. Okay. Ruling Prince of Dol Amroth. That makes sense. All right. Let's keep reading. It's a principality of Gondor. Okay. I saw pictures of Dol Amroth. That place looks beautiful. Well, not like legitimate pictures. Ted Naismith did one. And it looks like a sweet place. It's right on the coast. Well, let me show you guys this. I'm sure you guys have seen this before. Whoop, there we go. Hey, how cool is that place? I want to live there. Place looks sweet. Yeah, give me a little summer home there, and then we're set. This is a really cool painting. I just want to stare at this for a long time. I want to live right in this tower. That's where Rapunzel lives. She goes across this bridge. Whoop, right up there. The rocks are very Bob Ross. That's actually great. All right, let's keep reading. Yeah, everyone get your marshmallows out. You smell burning. Hold on one second. I got to close this window. Everyone like the stream. They passed on, and as they climbed and drew near to the citadel, they felt the wind blowing in their faces. And they caught the glimmer of morning far away, a light growing in the southern sky. But it brought little hope to them. Not knowing what evil lay before them, fearing to come too late. "Darkness is passing," said Gandalf, "but it still lies heavy on the city." At the gate of the citadel they found no guard. "Then Beregond has gone," said Pippin more hopefully. Yes, I love it. I called that. At the gate of the citadel. Hold on. Wheel quick. Sorry. I'll do anything to pause the stream. Baragond is a Citadel guard or no? I thought he wasn't. Aren't him and Pippin not in the same company? Just waiting for chat to catch up. Or someone to chat. So he is a Citadel guard. Okay, interesting. He is, but a different company. Huh. How many companies are there in Gondor? How many men are in Gondor fighting again? We have 5,500 from Rohan. Do we have a number on how many are in Gondor? 5 or 6 people? Or 5 or 6,000 people? Just 5 or 6 guys just fighting. Yeah, not enough. Max 7 men. Those are good 7 men, though. Multiple companies. Baragond is in the 3rd company. Tree Fitty. All right, let's keep reading. I got to stop getting distracted. This is an easily distractible chapter, though. Darkness is passing, said Gandalf, but it still lies heavy on the city. At the gate of the citadel, they found no guard. Baragond has gone, said Pippin more hopefully. They turned away and hastened along the road to the door closed, or to the closed door. It stood wide open, and the porter lay before it. He was slain, and his key had been taken. Is that Baragond's doing? No way Baragond will do that. Maybe if he felt compelled enough. Work of the enemy, said Gandalf. Such deeds he loves. Friend at war with friend. Loyalty divided in confusion of hearts. Now he dismounted and bade Shadowfax return to the stable. For my friend, he said, you and I should have ridden to the fields long ago. But other matters delay me. Yet come swiftly if I call. It was secretly his son. The porter stood before it. Interesting. They passed the door and walked on down the steep winding road. Light was growing, and the tall columns and carven figures beside the way went slowly by like gray ghosts. Suddenly the silence was broken, and they heard below them cries and the ringing of swords. Such sounds as had not been heard in the hallowed places since the building of the city. At last they came to Rath Dinen and hastened toward the great house of stewards looming in the twilight under its great dome. Stay, stay, cried Gandalf, springing forward to the stone stair before the door. Stay this madness. For there were the servants of Denethor with swords and torches in their hand. But alone in the porch upon the topmost step stood Baragond, clad in the black and silver of the guard, and he held the door against them. 2 of them had already fallen to his sword, staining the hallows with their blood. And the others cursed him, calling him outlaw and traitor to his master. Whoa, a little civil disobedience. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, not civil for sure. This is interesting. Even as Gandalf and Pippin ran forward, they heard from within the house of the dead the voice of Denethor crying, "Haste, haste, do as I have bidden. Slay me this renegade, or must I do so myself?" Thereupon the door which Baragon held shut with his left hand was wrenched open, and there behind him stood the lord of the city, tall and fell. A light like flame was in his eyes, and he held a drawn sword. Interesting. Wait, I'm confused as you guys saying that this is criminal. I mean, this is for sure, you got to be court-martialed for this, but he's doing what's right. This is like necessary evil. Yeah, I know he's defying orders, but when your orders are crap, I don't come from a military mindset on this. Yeah, legal versus moral. That's actually a great distinction, Trig. So what he's doing is legally wrong, but what he's doing is morally correct. Yeah, Trig, that's a great distinction. Interesting. Yeah, oath breaking. We're getting back to that oath breaking idea. I don't. We've seen a few oaths, but nothing like crazy for oaths at the moment. I'm on Baragon. I'm on Baragon's side. If you have a terrible order, this is an interesting one. This is gonna be an interesting essay. Yeah, so he's criminal. Okay, so I like what you said. He's criminal, but he's not necessarily what he's doing isn't wrong. I like that. We all kind of agree with each other. Okay, good. I was just a little confused there. So yeah, you guys, thanks for the distinctions there. Um, Interesting. I like this description. And there behind him stood the lord of the city, tall and fell. A light like flame was in his eyes, and he held a drawn sword. I think it's raining right now. It's supposed to downpour. Yeah, it's raining right now. But Gandalf sprang up the steps, and the men fell back from him and covered their eyes. For his coming was like the incoming of a white light into a dark place. And he came with great anger. He lifted up his hands, and in the very stroke the sword of Denethor flew up and left his grasp, and fell behind him in the shadows of the house, and Denethor stepped backward before Gandalf as one amazed. Did he just do magic? I don't know how to describe that. Do magic. Did he just perform magic? Did he do some kind of thing? That's cool. I feel like we haven't really seen that. That's like the most explicit form of magic that I think we've seen in the book. The magic of presence. I kind of like that. Telekinesis for sure. He used the Force. Gandalf would be such a cool Jedi. I mean, we already have Saruman as a Jedi. Give me Gandalf as a Jedi. Give me a little battle between those two old men. That'd be so good. That'd be great. Also, total side note. I just stabbed myself with a pencil. Tales of the Jedi. Great show. Great show. The grief that So good. Such a good show. Anyway, sorry. I'll hit that rant later. Man, this is interesting. He uses magic, actually. What is this, my lord? Said the wizard. The houses of the dead are no places for the living. And why do men fight here in the Hallows, when there is war enough before the gate? Or has our enemy come even to Rath Dinen? Sorry, I keep getting distracted because there's so many interesting things that are happening here. So, Faramir, when he gives his little soliloquy to Sam and Frodo about how people are building greater houses to the dead than those of the living. Yes, he for sure is still talking about his father then. He's talking about the things in the past. But really, this is very centered around his father. And his father is literally causing this to happen. Like, this is not the end goal, but like the culmination of what's really going on with him. Like, this is the everything that Faramir diagnosed the city wrong is happening in this moment. Interesting. Since when has the Lord of Gondor been answerable to thee, said Denethor. Or may I not command my own servants? You may, said Gandalf. But others may contest your will, when it is turned to madness and evil. Where is your son Faramir? He lies within, said Denethor. Burning. Already burning. They have set a fire in his flesh, but soon all shall be burned. The west has failed. It shall all go up in a great fire, and all shall be ended. Ash and smoke blown away on the wind. Huh. Hold on. Okay. I need to figure this out. They're in this stone building right now, and they're burning Faramir. Why is Baragon closing the door? And trying to keep the door shut. Oh, he's burning with fever? No, they have set a fire in his flesh. Is the they have set a fire in his flesh the fever? Okay, I mean, I know I have to keep reading, but I just want to talk about this point for a second because I'm still confused. Why then still would Baragon close the door and barricade the door? It'll explain that too? Okay, I'll just keep reading. I'll just keep reading. Sorry, guys. Okay, so he's keeping the people with the torches out. So were those two people that he killed the two people with torches? Bring wood and oil, and he's trying to keep them from bringing wood and oil in there. Baragon saves Faramir. I love that. Okay, I will keep reading. Then Gandalf, seeing the madness that was on him, feared that he had already done some evil deed. And he thrust forward, with Baragon and Pippin behind him, while Denethor gave back until he stood beside the table within. But there they found Faramir, still dreaming in his fever. Lying upon the table, wood was piled under it, and high all about it, and all was drenched with oil, even the garments of Faramir and the coverlets. But as yet, no fire had been set to the fuel. Okay. That's kind of confusing. If I didn't have you guys, I would think I would be very confused right now because I would say they just set a fire in his flesh, and then all of a sudden they're like, he hasn't been set fire. Anytime I have a fever now, I'm gonna say I have a fire in my flesh. They have set a fire in my flesh. It's a cool way of saying that you have a fever. Denethor is a madman. Then Gandalf revealed the strength that lay hid in him. Even as the light of his power was hidden under his gray mantle, he leaped up onto the faggots, and raising the sick man lightly, he sprang down again, and bore him toward the door. But as he did so, Faramir moaned, and called on his father in his dream. Denethor started, as one waking from a trance, and the flame died in his eyes. And he wept, and he said, "Do not take my son from me. He calls for me." "He calls," said Gandalf, "but you cannot come to him yet. For he must seek healing on the threshold of death, and maybe find it not. Whereas your part is to go out to the battle of your city, where maybe death awaits you. This you know in your heart." Whoa! This is it. That's good. Because in my heart as a reader, I knew that this is what Denethor needed to do. And Gandalf finally calls him out on that and confronts him. I'm so curious what his response is going to be. Search your feelings. You know it to be true. Gandalf is speaking what all of us know. I think Tolkien might be a pretty good writer. I do say that a lot. "He will not wake again," said Denethor. "Battle is vain. Why should we wish to live longer?" Why should we not go to death side by side? There's some good questions. There's some good essays I could write on those questions. Wow. Okay. This is going to be a good answer. I feel like this is going to be a great answer. "Authority is not given to you, steward of Gondor, to order the hour of your death," answered Gandalf. "And only the heathen kings, under the domination of the dark power, did thus, slaying themselves in pride and despair, murdering their kin to ease their own death." Then passing through the door, he took Faramir from the deadly house and laid him on the bier on which he had been brought, and which had now been set in the porch. Denethor followed him and stood trembling, looking with longing on the face of his son. And for a moment, while all were silent and still, watching the Lord in his throes, he wavered. Yeah, that really is a Catholic suicidal answer right there. It's still a good answer, but it's a very Catholic answer. That's actually so funny. Guys, come on. Tolkien doesn't talk about allegory in any of his works. Come on. Of course he wouldn't and put his Catholicism into his books. "Come," said Gandalf. "We are needed. There is much that you can yet do." Then suddenly Denethor laughed. He stood up, tall and proud again, and stepping swiftly back to the table, he lifted from it the pillow on which his head had lain. Then coming to the doorway, he drew aside the covering, and lo, he had between his hands a palantir. As he held it up, it seemed to those that looked on the globe began to glow with an inner flame, so that the lean face of the Lord was lit as with a red fire. And it seemed cut out of hard stone, sharp with black shadows, noble, proud, and terrible. His eyes glittered. There it is. I was curious why he was going to laugh there, because generally laughter in the book is always good. Well, not always good, I guess. But it's a good thing to laugh. And in the previous, like when they laughed, they broke the spell of Saruman. And then Éomer laughs in the previous chapter to almost break the spell of his hopelessness. And this is, I don't know where this is going to go. Is this going to be he laughs out of madness and that laughter is going to carry him further into madness, or is this laughter actually going to cause him to repent in some way? I'm curious if we're actually going to get somewhat of a repentance of Denethor. Denethor's laughter is interesting here. All right, let's keep reading. Pride and despair, he cried. Didst thou think that the eyes of the White Tower were blind? Nay, I have seen more than thou knowest, grey fool. Oh, so he's actually going to go mad. He's like going to go further into madness. For thy hope is but ignorance. Go then and labor in healing. Go forth and fight. Vanity. For a little space you may triumph on the field for a day. But against the power that now arises, there is no victory. To this city, only the first finger of its hand has yet been stretched. All the east is moving, and even now the wind of thy hope cheats thee and wafts up Anduin, a fleet with black sails. What a dummy. What a dummy. And even now the wind of thy hope cheats thee and wafts up Anduin, a fleet with black sails. The west has failed. It is time for all to depart who would not be slaves. You know what I think about that? So he says this. You know that line in the movies where is it in the book too? Where Gandalf is talking to Saruman and he goes, When did you, Saruman the Wise, abandon reason for madness? This should be applied to Denethor. When did Denethor go from reason to madness? This is like what you shouldn't do. Like, even if this is not, and this is why, like, you know, bravery, I'll talk about bravery a lot, maybe in some essays this week. The idea of being brave is like, you know, even if you're going to fight a losing battle, you still go out to fight nonetheless. Denethor is like, nope. He doesn't have any bravery. Denethor is not a brave man. Denethor. He doesn't do the hard things. He's trying to take easy ways out. It really does feel like a Shakespearean tragedy. Like that paragraph in particular. So this is something that I wanted to, okay, I'm going to bring in, I want to talk about Professor Trelawney for a second. Give me like 2 minutes to talk about this. He did wrestle with Sauron for sure. Ooh, reordering of the chapters. This chapter should be before the Pelennor Fields. Honestly, with that little reveal in there, that's a good rewrite. Honestly, that's actually a good rewrite. Apollon, I'm kind of. I need to finish the chapter and then we'll talk about it. Okay, Professor Trelawney. I have a theory in the Harry Potter series that she is always right, but she just doesn't know how to interpret the signs. So I'm going to give one example. She has this prediction that she tells one of the Patil twins, beware of a red-headed man. And she looks at Ron in this moment and totally like, yeah, I think that's in the movies too. I think she looks at Ron. No, I don't think it's in the movies. But nothing happens there. But later on in the series, Ron takes her on a date to the Yule Ball, and Ron is a total jerk to her. Awful. Like an absolute idiot. So I think Professor Trelawney sees the things that are happening in the future, but just doesn't have the wisdom to know how to interpret these things that are right. This feels like that, where Denethor has all the information in front of him, but he's making judgment calls. Now, like, those judgment calls are decent. Like, if he sees these black sails coming, I would be terrified too, because he's looking at it from Sauron's perspective. But his foolishness, and maybe this is why I'm not going to call him wise anymore, because I think he's shrewd, but I don't know if he's wise. I think he still is a little wise, because he sees this sign, but he's looking at it through one person's perspective, which is Sauron, looking at these black sails that are coming up. And he doesn't know the other side of the story. He doesn't have all the information. So I know that's her twin Padma, but that's why she's not good at reading the signs, because she doesn't know how to tell the difference between these two twins. She sees one of them happening, or she sees a redhead being scorned by one of the Patil twins, and Trelawney, she has big wide glasses, she can't really see, and so she doesn't know the difference between the two. Yeah, he didn't know Rohan was coming, exactly, so he just doesn't have all the information. But that's still not bravery. Like, even if you know that you're going to lose, you still go out and fight nonetheless. Like, this is an interesting chapter. Kind of, I don't know. Ooh, Denethor is one of the 3 most morally bankrupt characters in the series. He's the dark contrast to Aragorn. That's a hot take. I actually don't mind that hot take. There are more than 3 orc characters. I need to think about that one. I actually don't think he's like that morally good. Morally bankrupt. It's an interesting one. All right, I'll finish reading. I just think it's interesting to talk about this stuff as I go. And I have to do this stuff. This is just live processing all my thoughts immediately as I read it. I really like mess with you guys here. Such counsels will make the enemy's victory certain indeed, said Gandalf. It's a great quote, Gandalf. Hope on, then, laughed Denethor. Do I not know thee, Mithrandir? Thy hope is to rule in my stead, to stand behind every throne, north, south, or west. I have read thy mind and its policies. What? Do I not know that you command this halfling here to keep silence? That you brought him hither to be a spy within my very chamber? And yet in our speech together I have learned the names and purpose of all thy companions. So, with the left hand thou wouldst use me for a little while as a shield against Mordor, and with the right Bring up this ranger of the north to supplant me. Okay, so this is actually interesting too because they gave him this line in the beginning, which makes him mad. But this is like the peak of his madness when he's like paranoid about someone supplanting him and Gandalf using him. So by giving him that line in the beginning, you're already proclaiming that he's mad because this is probably the maddest thing that he's actually said yet. Well, I take that back because he told Faramir that'll depend on the manner of your return, which is probably the most mad thing that he said. But this is interesting. But I say to thee, Gandalf Mithrandir, I will not be thy tool. I am steward of the house of Anarion. I will not step down to be a dotard chamberlain of an upstart. Even were his claim proved to me, still he comes but of the line of Isildur. I will not bow to such a one, last of a ragged house, long bereft of lordship and dignity. Oh, so he's crazy. I think I talked about in one essay whether he would be an actual good counselor to Aragorn or not. No, he would not give up his throne. He has to die. So he's going to die in this chapter. I was curious about the repentance of Denethor. There's no chance. He's 100% going to die in this chapter. Or if not this chapter, then maybe the next. How is he totally right here according to the law, though? That doesn't make sense. Isn't the law that they would give him the throne? They would give the rightful ruler the throne? Aren't they waiting for the king to return? Oh, interesting. Okay. So Minas Tirith is actually not a Isildur city. Seems complicated. Okay, well, I'll hit that in the appendices. Don't give me anything else for that. That's interesting. So he maybe somewhat has a claim, but he's still mad. He's still crazy. He would actually call Aragorn, son of Arathorn, an upstart. That's crazy. What then would you have, said Gandalf, if your will could have its way? I would have things as they were in all the days of my life, answered Denethor. Excuse me. And in the days of my long fathers before me, to be the lord of this city in peace, and leave my chair to my son after me. And he's thinking of Boromir, who would be his own master and no wizard's pupil. Oh no, he's actually talking with Faramir. But if doom denies this to me, then I will have naught, neither life diminished, nor love halved, nor honor abated. This really is the most Shakespearean thing that he's written yet. This is actually literally from the pages of Shakespeare. He's like, I'm going to do what Shakespeare does, but I'm going to do it better. That's a crazy line. Yeah, he's bringing out his old English here. That's an interesting paragraph. To me, it would not seem that a steward who faithfully surrenders his charge is diminished in love or in honor, said Gandalf. And at the least, you shall not rob your son of his choice while his death is still in doubt. Oh, that's a great line. We've talked about that before. The robbing someone of choice. Huh. At those words, Denethor's eyes flamed again. And taking the stone under his arms, he drew a knife and strode toward the bier. But Baragon sprang forward and set himself before Faramir. Just read. This is crazy. So, cried Denethor, thou hadst already stolen half my son's love. Now thou stealest the hearts of my knights also, so that they rob me wholly of my son at the last. But in this, at least, thou shalt not defy my will, to rule my own end. His paranoia is so sad. So, Denethor. This is less. So, okay. I need to revise everything that I've written previously. He's paranoid. And his paranoia leads him into madness. Tragic fall of one great man. I don't know what made him paranoid. His own mind playing tricks on him that Gandalf was going to supplant him. Yeah, now I have to read and find out. I'll get more. It's more than just paranoia. I mean, it's the thing that he's using the Palantir. That doesn't seem great. His mind is getting addled, but for sure. But I think that's probably why part of the reason why he's paranoid too. I think it's a combination of those things. And I think all that is just making him mad and crazy. Is he gonna knife himself? Come hither, he cried to his servants. Come if you are not all recreant. Then two of them ran up the steps to him. Swiftly he snatched the torch from the hand of one and sprang back into the house. Before Gandalf could hinder him, he thrust the brand amid the fuel, and at once it crackled and roared into flame. Then Denethor leaped upon the table, and standing there wreathed in fire and smoke, he took up the staff of his stewardship that lay at his feet and broke it on his knee. This is so Shakespearean. Casting the pieces into the blaze, he bowed and laid himself on the table, clasping the Palantir with both hands upon his breast. And it was said that ever after, if any man look into that stone, unless he had great strength of will to turn it into other purpose, he saw only two aged hands withering in flame. Oh my gosh. Sheesh. Note, don't look into that stone again. Gandalf, in grief and horror, turned his face away and closed the door. He's like, well, might as well give him a little private moment there. For a while he stood in thought, silent upon the threshold, while those outside heard the greedy roaring of the fire within. And then Denethor gave a great cry, and afterwards spoke no more, nor was ever again seen by mortal men. Wow. Wow. What a Shakespearean tragedy. Maybe I should write an essay when Tolkien became Shakespeare. For a chapter. Wow. No F's in the chat for Denethor. I pity him. I do pity him. I don't like him. But I also do feel bad for him. That his mind was this addled. And he was so paranoid and so mad at the end. And he just couldn't lay down his pride and be a good father and be a good general. I think Tolkien is really saying something too about what would the word be? Like honor, I guess, but like what's something deeper than honor, like dying in battle as opposed to dying on your own, burning yourself. Valor? Maybe valor? Dignity. Dignity sounds like it. Yeah. I know I did meet him on the worst 3 days of his life, but that's how you know a man, based on the worst 3 days of their life. That's how you know the character of a person. Honorable service, yeah. If I woke up and found myself in Middle Earth and I was Denethor, sheesh. He just doesn't have any humility, and that's just what kills him. Just take counsel. Go out and ride in war. Be like Théoden. It's the death scenes of these two kings. You have Théoden's death, riding out, leading his men into battle, and then you have Denethor's death. Wow, Denethor's death, hidden away, closed doors, totally in private, and he's just burning alive. I know he's not a king; he's a steward, but still, it's easier for my little head to call him a king sometimes. I'm running out of room on this page for essays. Death scenes. Let me actually amend that. Denethor versus Théoden. Huh. Yeah, for sure. Let me amend that. You don't necessarily judge someone by their worst moments. You shouldn't really ever judge a person by their worst moments, because we all have bad, terrible moments in our life. But they're weirdly illuminating for who you are as a person. I don't want anybody to judge me by my worst moments, but at my worst moments, that's when you learn the most about yourself and what your flaws are and what your shortcomings are. And he's a bit damaged. Yeah, Théoden is honored. Denethor is mourned. That's a great, oh man, what a great essay title. Théoden is honored. Denethor is mourned. Emotional damage. For sure. Interesting. Yeah, I gotta keep reading. Let me finish this chapter. Well, it'll probably take me a half hour to finish this chapter. You got 3 pages left. Man, Also, everyone like the stream? So passes Denethor, son of Ecthelion, said Gandalf. Then he turned to Baragond and the Lord's servants that stood there aghast. And so pass also the days of Gondor that you have known. For good or evil they are ended. Ill deeds have been done here. But let now all enmity that lies between you be put away. For it was contrived by the enemy, and works his will. You have been caught in a net of warring duties that you did not weave. But think, you servants of the Lord, blind in your obedience, that but for the treason of Baragond, Faramir, captain of the White Tower, would now also be burned. Interesting. So this is what we were talking about before. So he's treasonous, but he's good treasonous. It's good treason. What movie? I just had a flash for a movie. Who says, so it's treason then? Oh, it's Star Wars. Anyway. Bear away from this unhappy place your comrades who have fallen, and we will bear Faramir, steward of Gondor, to a place where he can sleep in peace, or die if that be his doom. Yeah, Palpatine. I like that movie. I love those movies. Yeah, the originals are great, but I also love the prequels. Then Gandalf and Baragond, taking up the bier, bore it away toward the House of Healing, while behind them walked Pippin with downcast head. But the servants of the Lord stood gazing. Hold on one second. I actually have to underline this little section. But the servants of the Lord stood gazing as stricken men at the house of the dead. And even as Gandalf came to the end of Rath-Dinen, there was a great noise. Looking back, they saw the dome of the house crack and smokes issue forth. And then with a rush and rumble of stone, it fell in a flurry of fire. It fell in a flurry of fire. Such a poetic way to say he got crushed to death. But still, unabated, the flames danced and flicked among the ruins. Then in terror, the servants fled and followed Gandalf. Gosh. Again, I cannot stop thinking about how this is so Shakespearean. Shakespeare wouldn't just kill a dude by burning him to death. He would have the guy burned to death, and then all of a sudden the flames would lick the house, and then a stone structure would then fall upon this man, and he would die that way. So now are when we give Fs for Denethor. For every stone that hits Denethor, put an F in the chat for that. Flurry of fire sounds like a weatherman during Armageddon. Man. What a way to die. What an image that is. The Rath-Dinen, the place where they're building these lavish, beautiful places for the dead, finally falls. And now they're worried about the freaking living. I love that. F's to the House of Stewards. Interesting section. Then in terror, the servants fled and followed Gandalf. A lot of F's. Literally a lot of F's in this section. Not just for the death of Denethor, but then with a rush and a rumble of stone, it fell in a flurry of fire. But still unabated, the flames danced and flickered among the ruins. Then in terror, the servants fled and followed Gandalf. Tolkien really likes his alliteration, yeah, for sure. feel like there's something to that. Alliteration contributing to a storytelling in some way. Old English alliterative verse. Yeah. But I took modern poetry classes, and if you use alliteration in modern poetry, they will fry you, which I think is stupid. Write poetry however you want to write poetry. I mean, Mary Oliver didn't give jack about what modern poetry was supposed to look like, and look at her poetry. Some of the greatest ever written. I'm a big Mary Oliver fan, by the way. All right, let's finish this chapter or this in the next few paragraphs before we only have 2 pages left. 2.5. At length they came back to the steward's door. And Baragon looked with grief at the porter. This deed I shall ever rue, he said. But the madness of haste was on me, and he would not listen, but drew swords against me. Then, taking the key that he had wrestled from the slain man, he closed the door and locked it. This should now be given to the Lord Faramir, he said. The Prince of Dol Amroth is in command in the absence of the Lord, said Gandalf, but since he is not here, I must take this on myself. I bid you keep the key and guard it until the city is now set in order. Now at last they passed into the high circles of the city. And in the light of morning, they went their way toward the houses of healing. And these were fair houses, set apart for the care of those who were grievously sick. But now they were prepared for the tending of men hurt in battle or dying. They stood not far from the citadel gate, but in the sixth circle, nigh to its southward wall, and all about them was a garden and greensward with trees, the only such place in the city. There dwelt the few women that had been permitted to remain in Minas Tirith, since they were skilled in healing, or in or in the service of healers. But even as Gandalf and his companions came carrying their bier to the main... Gosh, what the heck is going on with my throat? But even as Gandalf and his companions came carrying the bier to the main doors of the houses, they heard a great cry that went up from the field before the gate, and rising shrill and piercing into the sky, passed and died away on the wind. So terrible was the cry that for a moment all stood still. And yet, when it passed, suddenly their hearts were lifted up, in such hope as they had not known since the darkness came out of the east. And it seemed to them that the light grew clear and sun broke through the clouds. That's the Witch King's death? Poor guy. No F's in the chat for the Witch King. No one better put any F's in the chat for the Witch King. Or rips. May he rest in agony. No, I don't think Tolkien would want anybody to rest in agony. Even the dead. Even the terrible people. I think he would still want them to rest in peace. Because Tolkien is a good guy. Interesting. That's kind of a cool little section. You got like a little scream of the Witch King dying. F for the Witch King, no F for Denethor. But Gandalf's face was grave and sad, and bidding Baragon and Pippin to take Faramir into the houses of healing, he went up onto the walls nearby, and there like a figure carven in white he stood in the new sun and looked out. And he beheld with the sight that was given to him all that had befallen. And when Éomer rode out from the forefront of his battle and stood beside those who lay upon the field, he sighed and cast his cloak about him and went from the walls. And Baragon and Pippin found him standing in thought before the door of the houses when they came out. They looked at him, and for a while he was silent. At last he spoke. "My friends," he said, "and all you people of this city and of the western lands, things of great sorrow and renown have come to pass. Shall we weep or be glad? Beyond hope, the captain of our foes has been destroyed, and you have heard the echo of his last despair. But he is not gone without woe and bitter loss. And that I might have averted, but for the badness of Denethor. So long has the reach of our enemy become. Alas! But now I perceive how this was able to enter into the very heart of the city. Though the stewards deemed that it was a secret kept only by themselves long ago, I guess that here in the White Tower, one at least of the 7 seeing stones was preserved. In the days of his wisdom, Denethor would not presume to use it to challenge Sauron, knowing the limits of his own strength. But his wisdom failed. And I fear that as the peril of his realm grew, he looked in the stone and was deceived. Far too often, I guessed, since Boromir departed. He was too great to be subdued to the will of the Dark Power. He saw, nonetheless, only those things which that power permitted him to see. The knowledge which he obtained was, doubtless, often of service to him. Yet the vision of the great might of Mordor that was shown to him fed the despair of his heart until it overthrew his mind. This is an interesting commentary that he's giving here. I have a question that I want to ask after I finish this chapter. Don't let me forget. "Now I understand what seemed so strange to me," said Pippin, shuddering at his memories as he spoke. "The Lord went away from the room where Faramir lay. And it was only when he returned that I first thought he was changed, old and broken. It was in the very hour that Faramir was brought to the tower that many of us saw a strange light in the topmost chamber," said Beregond. "But we have seen that light before, and it has long been rumored in the city that the Lord would at times wrestle in thought with his enemy." "Alas, then I have guessed rightly," said Gandalf. "Thus the will of Sauron entered into Minas Tirith, and thus I have been delayed here. And here I shall still be forced to remain, for I shall soon have other charges, not Faramir only." I have a question, but I know there's 2 paragraphs, so I'm just going to keep reading. "But I must go down to meet those who come. I have seen a sight upon the field that is very grievous to my heart, and greater sorrow may yet come to pass. Come with me, Pippin. But you, Beregond, should return to the citadel, and tell the chief of the guard there what has befallen. It will be his duty, I fear, to withdraw you from the guard, but say to him that, if I may give him counsel, you should be sent to the houses of healing, to be the guard and servant of your captain, and to be at his side when he awakes, if that shall ever be again. For by you he was saved from the fire. Go now. I shall return soon." With that, he turned away and went with Pippin down toward the lower city. And even as they hastened on their way, the wind brought a gray rain, and all fires sank, and there arose a great smoke before them. Man. I kind of got my answer when I kept reading. Gandalf doesn't know Aragorn is coming on the Black Corsairs of Umbar. So he looks out and sees Éomer essentially giving his last stand, and he's so saddened by that he comes and gives this speech. That's what I am gathering here. And so he says, Umbar. Umbar. Denethor's fall was a slow burn. That's a great essay title. Oh my gosh. Hold on, I gotta write that down. And I'll write in the title, or I'll put it in the thumbnail, or in the in the thumbnail text. Thank you, Gale. Denethor's fall was a slow burn. People will want to click on that because they'll go, who's Gale? Slow and then fast. Yeah, it seems like it's right before that they actually found it. It's like Éomer is riding out. What does he see? He just sees him riding out there. He doesn't see him on the hill in the last stand. So this is probably right after Theoden's dead, and he sees Éowyn. The next chapter has a good character? Good. I love good side characters. Lorith. I'm guessing she's going to be a healer because the next chapter is the Houses of Healing. Yes, we got a long chapter. I'm so pumped for a long chapter. I love long chapters. Oh. We only have 3 chapters at the end of book 6? What? That's a tragedy. Wow. Oh, Iorith, not an L. Iorith. Or Erith? Yorith. Iorith? Guys, you guys are giving me a bunch of different pronunciations. Oh, no way. The next chapter is your favorite? Yorith? Erith? Because what's the diphthong again? The I-O is the Irith? Irith? I think it's Irith. The movie's changed it. If Faramir is dead, I'm going to be furious. It's a consonant sound. The next chapter is good. Okay. Next chapter has the funniest line in the book. Good. I love that. I love a good funny line. This is interesting. So, hold on. Gandalf, in the end of this chapter, Gandalf is actually going without hope. I guess he's hoping that Aragorn comes, but he doesn't see the black sails yet. So at this moment when he turns and gives this speech, he's giving like a hopeless speech, but he's like instilling people with hope. Now, what is the sight that he's seen that is very grievous to him? Is it just Éomer riding out? Now I must go down to meet those who come. I have seen a sight upon the field that is very grievous to my heart, and greater sorrow may yet come to pass. I think he's just talking about Éomer riding out there. He beheld with the sight that was given to him all that had befallen. And when Éomer rode out from the forefront of his battle and stood beside those who lay upon the field, he sighed. Oh, Théoden dying. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Man. Gandalf is mad? No way. Gandalf's not mad. Man, that was a... I feel like I need a mint after that chapter. You know what I mean? Like, I need to go brush my teeth and go take a shower or something like that. Denethor. What a guy. Yeah, it's interesting too because he talks about how he sees with his sight, with the sight that was given to him. What is that about? He beheld with the sight that was given to him. I guess because he's coming back and he has like, does he have hindsight? Or does he actually have foresight here? Is he looking? He's not looking into the future. He's all things that have befallen. I know. Blues and patches. The storm is literally on my doorstep right now. It's just starting to drizzle, and yeah, I hear it's gonna be crazy. But we kind of need it. We need a good storm. We haven't had rain in months. I can't speak. Minas Tirith Red Cross. Minas Tirith Red Cross. Red Cross. Angelic sight. Okay, that's what it is. So he's seeing the past. Yeah. I'm curious where it seems like we are at the moment when Éomer is kind of riding out. Like that seems like the timeline here. Such cool correlations between like all the timelines. Now someone raised an interesting question before. Would you change these chapters? Would this one ever become the previous? Honestly, what would it contribute and what wouldn't it? I think there'd be more surprise. This one would kind of drive your hope down a little bit. But in this chapter, you don't. Yeah, it's interesting. In this chapter, your hope doesn't fall quite as deep because you know it's around the corner and you know that good things are coming. Like why? Like, yeah, he didn't want to write a full different chapter with the battle scene. Like Éomer. Imagine if the last chapter ended with Éomer looking in defiance of the black sails and raising up his sword, and you don't see the standard yet. And then he wrote a full other chapter on, and then he wrote the Pyre of Denethor. And then right after this, Gandalf is going out, and then all of a sudden the next chapter is back to like Éomer's perspective, and he is talking, or he actually sees the standard breaking. Yeah, actually that's a great point. That Denethor's hopelessness was actually a false hopelessness. So you have to be able to see that in this chapter to understand that he's actually going mad. That's a great point, because this chapter is really all about the madness of Denethor. It's really a fascinating chapter. It's Tolkien getting both Shakespearean and very psychoanalytical. Yeah, I think it is too choppy for Tolkien style. I just had another thought. It's interesting too in these chapters and like how they swap and how you could swap them, because I also think that what Tolkien is trying to do in this moment, I love that idea. Like you have to understand that the madness of Denethor is actual madness, and it's not just like his hopelessness is false. But I also think that he's really Tolkien in these this entire book, he is putting such a comparison and contrast between characters. And so in the previous chapter, you're supposed to see the hopelessness that Éomer has just encountered and how he still rides through it. And then all of a sudden his hope is answered and he's saved. And then all of a sudden you see the madness of Denethor and his hopelessness just caves in on him and brings him to his end. Okay, so there was one moment that I was actually not necessarily confused about. When Denethor takes the knife and walks toward Faramir, or walks toward the Pyre, was he going to kill Faramir? Dang. What a madman. Palantir is a hell of a drug. That is for sure. Honestly, this is a different kind of drug addiction. Like we've talked about how the ring is essentially like the life of an addict. The Palantir is also kind of that. Abraham is Isaac for sure. That's crazy. Wow, that's actually crazy. Better a swift death from his father than at the death of the hands of a fever. That's madness encapsulated. The Palantir was laced with Sauron. That's actually an interesting question, Shrek, if he actually would have gone through with it or not. I feel like he would have because he was so mad. But it is interesting in this chapter, you kind of see like when the fire comes back in his eyes, like there is a moment when the fire leaves his eyes and he almost thinks clearly for a second, and then it comes back. So I'm curious if he would hold that knife over his son, if the fire would leave his eyes for a second and he realized, what the heck am I doing? Yeah, that moment when Faramir calls out to him, he actually almost pulls back. Aragorn versus how Denethor deals with the Palantir. That's interesting. Now, Aragorn looked haggard. Maybe he has. This is a weird one though. That's actually. Let's talk about that. Let's live talk about that. Because Aragorn looks into this. I would not say that Aragorn's will is stronger than Denethor's will. But why was Aragorn able to look into it? Because he was the rightful owner of it, and because he knew what he needed to do. I guess this is like using something that like I'm not saying the Palantir are evil. They kind of feel like they're evil in this moment because they're controlled by Sauron. This seems like someone dabbling in drugs versus someone taking a painkiller because they need it for a moment. Aragorn does have the superior authority. Fully agreed with that. Despair is a sin. Interesting. Aragorn looks once. Denethor looks... Yeah, it's like Denethor could not stop himself from looking. I feel like that is a huge difference between the two. And I think I'm with you, Blues and Patches. I think Aragorn is way stronger, but at the same time, I think I would say that Denethor has a stronger will than Aragorn. Well, I don't know. In certain ways, I don't think a stronger will. I think he's just more stubborn. He was like, he was sending SMS text messages to Sauron. He was just on FaceTime with Sauron all the time. Anybody would be driven mad if that happened. He's literally taking a drug of Sauron. And Aragorn just does it once out of necessity to show him who he is so that he can feel the fear. That was such a cool moment when Aragorn looked in, he actually felt the fear of Sauron. Or it wasn't the fear, it was the doubt. Doubt still plagues him. I think that was kind of like the line. That was so cool. And yeah, it seemed like Aragorn wrestled the thing back to his own will. Like they seemed like they're in Sauron's control, and Aragorn at least like recouped one of them. That's so fascinating of a look into that. Now, it's interesting that you actually think that, too. If Aragorn used it multiple times, he would 100% end up like Denethor eventually. There seems like there's a difference. Because it seems like Aragorn was able to wrestle the thing back to his control, and Denethor wasn't able to do that. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. I definitely think there would have been. If Sauron is still alive and he's just looking into the Palantir, like having a debate with Sauron all the time, I think he for sure would lose his mind eventually. It's not a case where you kind of wrestle it and it's just under your control now. It kind of felt like that in that moment, but I guess that's not necessarily true. I do love, there's the image, the chapter that was hard for me to write essays, or not write essays on, but come up with visuals for essays was the passing of the Grey Company. Because there's no artwork for that. But there is one image that I do love. Oh, come on. And I didn't realize this when I first looked at it. Which is actually, this is kind of crazy. But this image right here, I did not realize that this is actually Aragorn. This old man right here. And this is one of the elflings. This is probably Eladon. Maybe Elrohir is right here. This is Éomer. And I'm guessing this is Halbrand. Rest in peace. F's in the chat for Halbrand. And this is Aragorn. Look at this old man. This is after a few minutes of looking in the Palantir. I'm shocked that it didn't kill him right there. I have not done any Lord of the Rings artwork, but I'm not an I wish I was a better artist. My family, we come from a family of artists. If I practice, I probably could be okay, but I'm not great. I know I wish I could use more book specific artwork. Part of the thing with some of the videos is like I don't want to have to do a crazy amount of research into like finding the artworks for some of this. So I know a few people that I use. I mean, I use Howe and Alan Lee and Ted Naismith, and I use a few other artists here and there, but I don't know of like a ton of people. I don't really draw. Not really. I kind of. My family does. My family is very good at it. But I do other stuff. It's okay, Wes. I just hit the desk real quick and it just sounded like a knock at the door. It's nothing. Don't worry. Hey. No. Wes is just laying on the bed in full glory right now. Man. That was a... I mean, every chapter of Tolkien is good. That one felt a little icky. Any chapter with Denethor, I feel like I need a shower after. I could play a younger Captain Price in Call of Duty. I used to play that game all the time in college. That's so funny. And next chapter is the most important Aragorn chapter? Interesting. Yeah, sometimes I need a shower after Shakespearean tragedy. Absolutely. There are some acts in Shakespeare where I'm like, that one didn't feel great. Oh, I haven't read Shakespeare in a long time. No, I can't do the next chapter now because I have a full week's worth of essays that I have to write. I know this one was short and it only took 2 hours. But if you want to become a member, I am going to do a Marginalia tonight. So anybody who's member, Marginalia probably coming at like 8 o'clock tonight. Maybe a little earlier, maybe 7. But I'm going to go take Wes for a walk before the earth gets flooded. Because we're about to get a storm of all storms. And then I'm going to make a little dinner and then and then I'm going to do a Marginalia. So probably around 8, I'm guessing. So if you become a member, you can chill and hang out with us while we talk about... We're going to talk about the Siege of Gondor and all my completed thoughts on that. I still have some questions. I know we have 3 chapters left. Me reading 3 chapters would literally take me to tomorrow morning. I could, if I started reading the last 3 chapters and just did the same thing that I'm doing right now, that would be another... I legitimately probably be like 15 hours of just reading. That'd be great, but I can't do that. Oh no, we meet Denethor again in the appendices. The contrast of Denethor's fate in the film and the book. Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna write on that. I might write on that as part of like if I do like an essay on the Shakespearean tragedy of this chapter, because it's so much more tragic in the books for how he died than in the movies. In the movies, it's like, oh, he's just done away with. It's like silly that he just jumps off a wall. That's kind of dumb. In the books, he locks himself back into that room. I'm gonna talk about Denethor versus Theoden's death. I think I'll probably mention it in that. Next podcast is probably, I'm hoping sometime this week, but Jen and Danny just had a kid. They just have a child now. So we might have to wait a little bit longer. I was hoping that we can have one this week, but Jen's probably going to be tapped out. But Danny might do it. We'll probably just do it online. And um, Danny. So he was joking in text. He's like, everyone meet Aragorn. No, they didn't name their kid Aragorn, but honestly, that'd be kind of a great name. It'd kind of work. Wouldn't mind it. Airy for Aragorn, honestly. Strider, call him Strider for short. I would give my kid a middle name of like, maybe not Boromir, but Gimli. A little middle name of Gimli. That'd be kind of sick. What's your name? Oh, my name's Anthony Gimli. That'd be sweet. Named Beren, that's a great name. I don't know anything about Beren and Luthien. I just know they're lovers. And Aragorn and Arwen are modeled after them. So I'll figure out more about them when I read that. But that's pretty much all I have in this little section, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Beorn. Imagine naming your child Beorn. That'd be kind of a sick name, actually. Dave Strider. Ooh, Pippin would be honestly, Pippin still works. Mary still works. Imrahil. Thomas Gimli. Turin. We'll come across that name later. Bjorn. Yeah, Bjorn. That's true. Pippin Amani. Just don't name your kid Gollum, if anything else. Or Denethor. Denny is kind of cute. But then you're also named after a breakfast restaurant, which isn't really that good. Anything but Feanor. Do not name your child Turin. Oh no, what happened to Turin? Don't give me any spoilers. I'm gonna end the stream before we have any spoilers. Shelob, come on, you guys are wild. All right, guys, thanks for joining. If you become a member, we're gonna do a members only stream tonight, just talking about another chapter. If not, we'll probably see you next weekend for Houses of Healing reading. I have a few essays that I gotta write, so I gotta figure that out. And then I'll see you guys next time. Grand. All right, guys, have a great day. If you're in my area, watch out for the rain. And everyone, say goodbye to Galadriel.